Hi everybody, it's Theresa McGallicher and I'm here with another video for you to talk a little bit about spirituality and A Course in Miracles. Today I had two conversations with two different people who told me that they felt pressed for time. And I had mentioned in an earlier video that I was going to come on here and talk about time and how time works more extensively at some point. So I decided to do that today. And what I want to do specifically is talk about the Holy Instant, what A Course in Miracles calls the Holy Instant, and how it works in the timeline. And I made a little video aid to help explain this. But first I want to read to you the definition of the Holy Instant, and this is from the Circle of Atonement website, which says, "The Holy Instant is a moment in which we temporarily set aside the past and enter into the timeless present, in which we momentarily transcend identification with illusions and recognize what is real." So this holy instant can happen seemingly randomly to us sometimes when we suddenly see a beautiful sunset or hear a beautiful symphony or have some sort of encounter with someone that results in a moment of joy or a moment of love, and we may feel like we've been transported out of time. Or you may have seen in movies this idea that time slows down. So here I have my visual aid that I made, and I hope that you can see it. I'm going to stand up to give you a little bit of perspective. And this black line going across the page here is your timeline. This is your life, and it seems to be starting with your birth, and it seems to involve a lot of activity and ending with your death. And this is what all of us have been taught to believe is the way that life works and how our timeline in life works. But what A Course in Miracles says is that we can shift out of this timeline by engaging in the Holy Instant. So when we take a moment to be still and to be present and to ask for guidance, for divine guidance, what can happen if we are open and we are willing is that divine inspiration can come into us. We are literally shifted out. We're going along with our merry life, following a certain pattern on this timeline, and then suddenly we are shifted out of the timeline into the holy present moment here. And when we are brought back down, we don't land on the same timeline and continue on this same path. We come down on another timeline, and our life follows a different path. And A Course in Miracles says that we can advance spiritually and skip over a whole lot of learning, a lot of struggle, a lot of lessons by engaging in this holy instant, so we don't have to keep running up against obstacles and challenges and struggling and suffering to learn something. We can be still and be present, and then we can shift and end up on a timeline where we are spiritually advanced because time has collapsed for us, and we are on a speeded up timeline where we are engaging in life in a wholly different way. So I've written down here that the Holy Instant is an out of pattern time interval. So we're no longer following this pattern, but because we have shifted with the Holy Instant out of time for an interval, for a moment, we are now on a different timeline. I hope that makes sense to you. This is just something I dreamed up out of my head today. Perhaps you've seen a movie called Sliding Doors with Gwyneth Paltrow. It was a romantic comedy that came out in 1998, I think. And in that movie, she is going along in life and she is experiencing struggles, and then she gets ready to jump on a subway train, and the movie then diverges and shows two different outcomes for her life. One if she makes it onto the train and what happens, and one if the doors close and she doesn't make it onto the train and her life takes a completely different path. And this is what is happening. This is how life works for us. We are not locked onto a specific path, but there's always in every moment an opportunity for things to shift and for things to change if we choose to make a different decision. But in order to do that, we have to be willing to be still, to be present, and to ask for guidance, because we don't have all the answers, as I have stated many times in these videos before, in our limited physical brain, in our minds. We need to be open. My husband says it's like you have a funnel on your head and you have to be willing to open your funnel to allow more inspiration, resources, information to come in, more opportunities to have life go a different direction. So that's what I have to say today about time, how time works, how timelines work. There are many parallel timelines, and you are not trapped on the one that you are on. You can shift in a minute. It's like one of those tracks, one of those changing stations at the railroad where your train is going along and then it gets to that platform where there's a circular area and the train can shift and go on a different track. That's how it works. So I'd love to hear your comments or your questions. Please feel free to drop me a message down below. I'm Theresa McGallicher, and it's been my pleasure to share this information with you from A Course in Miracles.